She chose herself. Part 2. She dusted off old talents she had abandoned. She sang again. She smiled again. She laughed without feeling guilty. She even looked in the mirror one morning and saw something she hadn't seen in years. Hope, not because life had suddenly become easy, but because she finally believed that her future did not have to look like her past. Meanwhile, the people she once rescued were being forced to solve their own problems. Some became angry because she no longer answered every call. Others found strength they never knew they had because she stopped carrying them. She realized something powerful. Sometimes helping people too much keeps them from growing. Sometimes love means stepping back and allowing God to do what only He can do. One afternoon she met an elderly woman sitting quietly on a park bench. The woman smiled and asked, "Child, why do your eyes look like they cried 1,000 tears?" She hesitated before answering. "I've spent so much of my life living for everyone else that I forgot who I was." The elderly woman nodded gently. Then she said words that would stay with her forever. A tree cannot keep giving fruit if no one allows it time to grow new branches. Rest is not weakness. Rest is where God grows strength. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Not tears of pain, tears of understanding. She realized she wasn't losing herself anymore. She was finding the woman God had intended her to become all along. That evening, as she knelt beside her bed, she prayed differently. She no longer asked God to change the people around her. She asked Him to continue changing her. "Father, if closing one chapter is necessary for me to fulfill your purpose, then help me keep the door closed. Give me wisdom to know when to help, courage to say no when needed, and faith to trust that you are working even when I cannot see it. Teach me to love without losing myself. Teach me to give without emptying myself. Teach me to forgive without returning to what broke me. Most of all, teach me to follow you even if I have to walk alone." As she whispered, "Amen," a peace settled over her heart unlike anything she had ever known. The world may have called her selfish, but heaven called her healed. And for the first time in many years, she believed it. God was rebuilding what pain had broken. There was a time when she believed that if she stopped carrying everyone else's burdens, the world around her would fall apart. It didn't. The sun still rose every morning. The rain still watered the earth. The birds still sang outside her window. Life continued, even without her trying to save everyone. For years she had mistaken responsibility for purpose. She believed God had placed her on earth to fix every broken person who crossed her path. Every crisis became her emergency. Every problem became her assignment. But as the weeks passed, God began showing her something she had never understood before. She had become so busy rescuing people that she had neglected the woman He had created her to be. One quiet afternoon she opened an old notebook that had been tucked away in a drawer. Dust covered its faded cover. Inside were dreams she had written years ago. She wanted to write books that would inspire people to trust God. She wanted to encourage women who felt forgotten. She wanted to travel, minister, sing, and remind broken hearts that God never wastes pain. As she turned each page, tears fell, not because those dreams had died, but because they had waited patiently for her. "I forgot about you," she whispered to the pages. Yet somehow, God had not forgotten. That evening she sat outside beneath a sky painted with shades of orange and gold. She watched the wind move gently through the trees. The Lord spoke softly to her heart. "What I placed inside you was never canceled. It was only delayed while you were carrying weights I never asked you to carry." She closed her eyes. Every word settled deep within her spirit. For years she had blamed other people for stealing her time. Now she realized she had freely handed it over because she was afraid that saying no would make her seem unloving. But true love doesn't require self-destruction. God never asks His children to empty themselves until nothing remains. He fills us first so that we can pour from abundance instead of exhaustion. The next morning she cleaned her small home from top to bottom, not because it was dirty, because she was making room for a new season. She packed away old letters that reminded her of heartbreak. She donated clothes that belonged to the woman she used to be. She threw away notebooks filled with guilt, fear, and broken promises. With every box she carried out the door, she felt lighter. It was as if she wasn't only cleaning her house. God was cleaning her heart. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, life began to bloom again. She smiled more often. She laughed without forcing it. She slept through the night without worrying about everyone else's problems. Then something unexpected happened. People who had once disappeared whenever she needed help began calling again. But this time, it wasn't because they needed money. They wanted advice. They wanted prayer. They wanted to know why she looked so different. One woman asked, "What happened to you? You seem peaceful." She smiled gently. I stopped trying to be everyone's answer and started trusting God's answers. Some understood, others didn't, and that was okay. She no longer felt responsible for convincing anyone. One Sunday, as she sat quietly in church, the pastor said something that seemed written just for her. Sometimes God removes you from the crowd because he is preparing you for the calling. Her heart began to race. She knew those words were for her. After the service, she stayed behind while everyone else hurried home. She knelt at the altar. No long speech, no rehearsed prayer, just one sentence. "Lord, I'm ready. Ready to stop living for applause. Ready to stop chasing acceptance. Ready to become everything you created me to be." A deep peace settled over her. It wasn't loud. It wasn't emotional. It was a quiet assurance that God was leading every step. As she walked outside, the sky was bright and clear. For the first time in years, she wasn't afraid of tomorrow. She wasn't worried about who would misunderstand her. She wasn't concerned about those who called her selfish, because she finally knew who she was. Like, share, subscribe, and comment for part 3.